Looking at Porsche in 2025, something interesting is happening in the market. While global deliveries are down slightly compared to recent years, certain models are absolute gold mines for buyers, while others are financial sinkholes waiting to drain your wallet. Here's what you actually need to know before dropping six figures on a German sports car. Starting with the cars you should avoid, we need to talk about the early Taycan models from 2020 through 2022. These electric sedans seemed like the future when they launched, and Porsche managed to sell over 40,000 units in those peak years. The problem is that the market has completely moved on. Sales crashed 49% in 2024, dropping from around 40,000 annual units down to just 20,836 cars. That kind of collapse tells you everything about how buyers view these older electric Porsches. The technology moved too fast, battery chemistry improved, charging speeds increased, and range expanded dramatically in just a few years. If you buy a 2020 or 2021 Taycan today, you're getting a car that already feels outdated compared to the refreshed 2025 model that now offers up to 1,000 horsepower in turbo GT variants with significantly better charging capabilities. The depreciation on these early electric Porsches has been brutal. While traditional Porsche models hold their value incredibly well, these first-generation Taycans are losing money faster than almost anything else in the premium segment. You're looking at a car that cost $150,000 new, now trading for $60,000 to $70,000 just 3 or 4 years later. That's luxury sedan depreciation, not Porsche depreciation. The market is saturated with them too. Dealers moved huge volumes in 2020 and 2021, when electric cars were the hottest thing in automotive. And now, all those lease returns are flooding the used market. Competition from Tesla Model S, BMW i4, Mercedes EQE, and even domestic Chinese brands in global markets means the Taycan lost its novelty factor. Unless you're getting an absolute steal on a well-maintained example with low mileage and you don't care about having the latest technology, these early Taycans represent one of the worst value propositions in the Porsche lineup right now. For someone who's spent decades building wealth and appreciates assets that hold value, watching $80,000 evaporate in depreciation over 3 years is unacceptable. There are better ways to spend your money in the Porsche lineup. The second car to avoid is actually surprising because it's been a massive seller for Porsche. The base Macan with the 4-cylinder turbocharged engine from model years 2019 through 2023 seemed like a smart entry point into Porsche ownership. Starting around $55,000 to $60,000, it undercut the V6 models significantly and gave buyers that Porsche crest on the hood for less money than ever before. Here's why that was a terrible deal. These base Macans suffer from an identity crisis. They don't have enough power to feel like a real Porsche, producing only 248 horsepower from a 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. That's adequate in a smaller vehicle. But in a luxury crossover that tips the scales at 4,200 pounds, it feels slow and uninspiring. Porsche owners report significantly lower satisfaction with the base engine compared to the V6 or electric options. The resale value reflects this too. While Porsche overall ranks number 1 in brand loyalty and customer satisfaction, according to J.D. Power studies in 2025, the 4-cylinder Macans consistently sell for less on the used market compared to their original MSRP differential from the V6 models. What that means in practice is that the $10,000 you saved buying the base engine costs you $15,000 in resale value 3 years later. You end up underwater on a car that never felt quick enough in the first place. The driving dynamics suffer too. Porsche engineered the Macan platform around the V6 engines, and when you strip out that power and torque, you lose the magic that makes a Porsche feel special. The suspension feels the same, the brakes are similar, the steering is identical, but the whole package feels neutered without adequate power delivery. In a market where a BMW X3 M40i or Audi SQ5 offers similar money with significantly more performance, the base Macan stopped making sense. Porsche clearly agreed because the new electric Macan starting in 2024 eliminated the four-cylinder option entirely. Every electric version produces at least 335 horsepower, with most buyers opting for the 381 horsepower or higher variants. If you're shopping for a family vehicle that can handle school runs, weekend trips, and still put a smile on your face during your morning commute, the base Macan disappoints on all fronts. Skip it entirely and find a well-maintained Macan S or GTS with the V6. The driving experience and resale value justify the extra initial cost every single time. At this stage in life, buying the right car the first time matters more than saving a few $1,000s up front. Third on the avoid list is the Panamera from 2014 through 2016, particularly the base V6 and diesel models sold in Europe. These first-generation refreshed Panameras hit the market right when Porsche was trying to prove it could build a legitimate luxury sedan to compete with the Mercedes S-Class and BMW 7 Series. They succeeded in creating a car that looked distinctive and drove better than the competition, but they failed spectacularly at reliability and cost of ownership. The 3.0-liter V6 diesel engine, sold primarily in European markets, has become notorious for expensive failures. Carbon buildup in the intake system, turbocharger issues, and diesel particulate filter problems plague these engines. Repair costs regularly exceed $8,000 to $12,000 for major service items that would cost $2,000 to $3,000 on a comparable BMW or Audi. The emissions equipment alone is a nightmare. Modern diesel Porsches require AdBlue fluid, have complex exhaust gas recirculation systems, and feature diesel particulate filters that can clog and require replacement every 80,000 to 120,000 miles at a cost of $4,000 to $6,000. The V6 gasoline engines from this era aren't much better. Direct injection carbon buildup requires walnut blasting service every 40,000 to 60,000 miles at $800 to $1,200 per service. The air suspension systems, standard on many Panameras from this generation, fail regularly after 60,000 to 80,000 miles. Replacing all four air struts costs $6,000 to $9,000 at a Porsche dealer. The electronics are dated too. The PCM infotainment system from 2014 to 2016 looks ancient compared to modern interfaces, and there's no easy upgrade path. You're stuck with a slow touchscreen, outdated navigation, and limited smartphone integration. Depreciation has been severe as well. These Panameras originally sold for $80,000 to $140,000 depending on options and trim level. Today, you can find them for $25,000 to $45,000 with 60,000 to 100,000 miles. That seems like a bargain until you factor in that you'll spend $5,000 to $10,000 per year just keeping them running. For professionals who value their time and want reliable transportation without constant service appointments, these Panameras are absolute money pits. The second-generation Panamera from 2017 forward fixed most of these issues with more reliable engines, better electronics, and improved build quality. Stick with those newer cars or avoid the Panamera entirely if your budget forces you into the 2014 to 2016 model years. The fourth and final Porsche to avoid might be the most controversial on this list because it's actually a good car. The problem is timing and market conditions. The 718 Boxster and Cayman with the turbocharged four-cylinder engines from 2017 through 2024 represent the last generation before Porsche transitions these mid-engine sports cars to electric power. Sales jumped 15% in 2024 as enthusiasts rush to buy what Porsche calls the last analog, naturally aspirated flat-six versions. But here's the catch. Those sales numbers reflect the GTS 4.0 and special editions with the flat-six engine, not the base turbocharged four-cylinder models. The four-cylinder 718s suffer from the same problem as the base Macan. They lack the soul that makes a Porsche special. The 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder produces 300 horsepower in base trim and 350 horsepower in the S models, which sounds adequate on paper. In practice, these engines sound terrible, vibrate more than the old flat 6, and deliver power in a way that feels completely wrong for a mid-engine sports car. The turbo lag is noticeable. You press the throttle and wait a beat before the boost arrives. That ruins the instant response that made the old, naturally aspirated Cayman and Boxster so engaging to drive. Porsche enthusiasts who grew up driving the brand's legendary naturally aspirated engines have been complaining about these turbocharged four-cylinders since they launched in 2017, and the market reflects that sentiment. Depreciation on four-cylinder 718 models has been steady and unforgiving, while the flat 6 GTS 4.0 models hold their value exceptionally well. A 2020 Cayman with the four-cylinder might sell for $48,000 to $54,000 today after originally costing $65,000 to $70,000. Meanwhile, a 2020 Cayman GTS 4.0 with the flat 6 sells for $85,000 to $95,000 after originally costing $88,000 to $95,000. Some low-mileage examples with the right options actually trade above original MSRP. The upcoming transition to electric power in 2026 or 2027 creates another problem. Once Porsche launches the electric 718, these turbocharged four-cylinder cars will occupy this awkward middle ground. They're not the beloved flat 6 models that collectors want, and they're not the cutting-edge electric versions that early adopters will buy. They'll just be outdated combustion cars with compromised engines sitting in automotive purgatory. If you want a weekend sports car or a second vehicle for enjoyable drives, either buy a GTS 4.0 with the flat 6 that will hold value and provide the proper Porsche experience, or wait for the electric version and get modern technology with instant torque delivery. Now, let's flip to the cars you should actually consider buying. Starting at number 5 on the best list. The current 911 Carrera models from the 992 generation launched in 2019 and refreshed in 2024 represent everything Porsche does right. The 992.2 generation, introduced in 2024, brought hybrid power to the 911 for the first time in the GTS variant. But the base Carrera and Carrera S models retain the twin turbocharged 3.0-liter flat 6 engine that's proven bulletproof reliable over hundreds of thousands of miles. The Carrera produces 379 horsepower, while the Carrera S pumps out 443 horsepower. Both engines deliver power in that perfect Porsche way, with instant throttle response, a progressively building power band, and that intoxicating flat 6 sound that no other manufacturer can replicate. These aren't the fastest 911s you can buy. The Turbo and GT3 models offer significantly more performance, but the base Carrera and Carrera S hit the sweet spot of being quick enough for any real-world situation while remaining relatively affordable to buy, maintain, and insure. A new Carrera starts around $115,000, while a Carrera S begins at $130,000. That's substantial money, but it's also $50,000 to $80,000 less than a Turbo or GT3, and the driving experience is 90% as good for daily use. Reliability on the 992 generation has been excellent. Porsche fixed most of the issues from the 991.2 generation, including the problematic engine mounts and minor oil consumption concerns. Owners regularly report driving these cars past 100,000 miles with nothing more than regular maintenance. The PDK dual clutch transmission is one of the best automatics ever built, shifting faster than any human can while never feeling disconnected from the driving experience. The manual transmission remains available and is actually better in the base Carrera than in the more powerful variants, because the engine torque doesn't overwhelm the clutch and shifter. Resale value on 911s remains the gold standard in the automotive industry. A 3-year-old 992 Carrera with 25,000 miles typically sells for 75 to 80% of its original MSRP, and sometimes more if the options list is strong. GT models actually appreciate. The 992 GT3, GT3 RS, and special editions regularly trade above MSRP on the used market. Waiting lists for new GT cars stretch 2 to 3 years. The 911 also benefits from being the ultimate Porsche. It's what everyone thinks of when they hear the brand name. Driving one, even a base Carrera, signals that you've achieved success in your career. The cultural significance alone makes these cars worth buying. They're also incredibly practical for a sports car. The rear seats are small but usable for weekend bags or briefcases. The front trunk holds enough luggage for a business trip or golf weekend. The ride quality on standard suspension is comfortable enough for daily commuting. You could genuinely use a 911 Carrera as your only car and never feel compromised, assuming your family doesn't require rear passenger space regularly. Fourth on the best list, the refreshed Cayenne from 2024 forward with the new plug-in hybrid system represents the perfect blend of performance, practicality, and efficiency. The Cayenne saved Porsche from bankruptcy when it launched in 2002, and it remains one of the company's most important models. In 2024 alone, Porsche sold 102,889 Cayennes worldwide, making it the best-selling model that year. The third-generation Cayenne received extensive updates in 2023, including new engines, revised suspension, updated electronics, and most importantly, dramatically improved plug-in hybrid technology. The Cayenne e-Hybrid produces 463 horsepower combined from its turbocharged V6 engine and electric motor. The Cayenne Turbo e-Hybrid pushes that to 729 horsepower, making it one of the quickest SUVs on the planet with a 0 to 60 time of 3.5 seconds. But the real magic happens in how these hybrid systems work in daily use. The battery pack provides around 30 miles of pure electric range in real-world conditions, which covers most daily errands and short commutes without burning any fuel. Plug it in at home every night and you could go weeks without visiting a gas station while still having the security of 300 plus miles of total range when you need it. The driving dynamics remain pure Porsche. The Cayenne feels smaller and more agile than it actually is, cornering flatter than any SUV this size should. The steering is direct and communicative. The brakes are powerful and progressive. It seats 5 adults comfortably with excellent visibility and a commanding driving position. Cargo space is massive at 27 cubic feet behind the rear seats and 60 cubic feet with the seats folded. It can tow 7,700 pounds, making it genuinely useful for people with boats, trailers, or large equipment. Build quality is exceptional. The interior materials, fit, and finish exceed anything from BMW, Mercedes, or Range Rover. Every switch, button, and knob feels engineered to last 200,000 miles. Reliability has been strong too. The hybrid system uses proven battery technology that Porsche refined for durability. The V6 engines are essentially bulletproof when maintained properly. Cost of ownership is reasonable for a vehicle in this class. Insurance is high but not outrageous for someone with an established driving record. Maintenance follows Porsche's fixed service schedule with no surprises. The plug-in hybrid models qualify for tax incentives in many states, which can reduce the effective purchase price by several $1,000s. Resale value on Cayennes remain excellent, particularly on hybrid models, as buyers increasingly value fuel efficiency. For families who need space, capability, and performance without compromise, the Cayenne e-Hybrid delivers everything in one package. Coming in at number 3 on the Best Buy list, the brand new all-electric Macan launched in 2024 represents Porsche's first purpose-built electric SUV, and early results show they absolutely nailed it. The electric Macan accounted for roughly 60% of all Macan sales in the first half of 2025, moving 27,000 units in just 6 months. That kind of adoption rate proves buyers aren't just accepting the electric version, they're actively choosing it over the remaining combustion models. Porsche offers the electric Macan in multiple variants, starting with the base model at 335 horsepower, the 4S at 387 horsepower, and the Turbo at 630 horsepower. Every version uses the same 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack that provides real-world range between 280 and 375 miles, depending on the variant, driving conditions, and wheel choice. The performance is impressive even for people familiar with electric vehicles. The Macan 4S hits 60 miles per hour in 3.9 seconds, which matches the old V6 Macan GTS despite weighing significantly more. The Turbo drops that to 3.1 seconds, putting it in sports car territory. But unlike many electric vehicles that feel fast in a straight line, but disconnected in corners, the electric Macan drives like a proper Porsche. The engineers completely retuned the suspension, steering, and stability control systems for the electric platform. The battery pack sits low in the floor, dropping the center of gravity below even the combustion Macan. That translates to flatter cornering, more neutral handling balance, and steering response that feels shockingly similar to a 911. Porsche also fitted the electric Macan with their 800-volt architecture. That enables charging speeds up to 270 kilowatts on compatible DC fast chargers. In ideal conditions, you can recover 250 miles of range in 21 minutes, even in less than ideal weather conditions. The charging performance remains strong. The interior represents a huge leap forward from the old Macan. Porsche designed an entirely new dashboard with a curved digital display, improved materials, and better ergonomics. Cargo space actually increased despite the battery pack, providing 19 cubic feet with the rear seats up. The ride quality is excellent too. Porsche fitted standard air suspension that adapts to road conditions and driving modes. It can lower for better aerodynamics at highway speeds, raise for winter weather clearance, and firm up for spirited driving. Build quality matches the best in the industry. Porsche spent years developing this platform, with parent company Volkswagen Group, and the engineering shows. Panel gaps are tight, materials feel premium, and everything functions exactly as it should. The price point is reasonable too. The base electric Macan starts around $80,000 in the United States, which undercuts the Cayenne significantly while offering similar technology and better performance in many situations. For someone who wants to embrace electric mobility without sacrificing driving enjoyment or build quality, the electric Macan represents the current state-of-the-art. The second best Porsche to buy right now is the 718 Cayman GTS 4.0 or Boxster GTS 4.0, with the naturally aspirated flat-six engine. These cars represent the last of a dying breed, and Porsche knows it. Production of the combustion 718 ends in late 2025 or early 2026, making these the final mid-engine sports cars with naturally aspirated flat-six engines that Porsche will ever build. The GTS 4.0 uses a 4.0-liter naturally aspirated flat-six, producing 394 horsepower and revving to 7,800 RPM. That engine is derived from the 911 GT3 motor, but detuned slightly for durability and everyday use. The sound is intoxicating. Unlike the turbocharged four-cylinder in the base 718 that sounds harsh and unrefined, the flat-six howls and screams with an intensity that delivers pure driving joy every single time you approach the red line. The power delivery is perfectly linear with no turbo lag and no waiting for boost. You press the throttle and the engine responds instantly with a progressively building surge that peaks right at the top of the rev range. The manual transmission, still available and highly recommended, is one of the best shifters in any production car. Short throws, perfect gate spacing, and a clutch that's light enough for casual driving, but communicative enough for spirited heel-toe downshifts. The chassis is mid-engine perfection, with the engine mounted behind the driver but ahead of the rear axle. The 718 achieves nearly perfect weight distribution. That translates to handling that feels almost telepathic. The car turns in sharply, rotates neutrally through corners, and puts power down cleanly on exit. The steering is hydraulically assisted rather than electric, providing feel and feedback that modern cars simply don't match. You can sense exactly how much grip the front tires have through the wheel. The base Cayman weighs only 3,100 pounds, making it lighter than almost any modern sports car. The Boxster with its convertible top adds just 100 pounds while providing the joy of open-air driving. Practicality is surprisingly good for a two-seater sports car. The front trunk provides adequate space for a weekend bag or groceries. The interior fits two adults comfortably with supportive sports seats and an excellent driving position. Visibility is fantastic with thin pillars and a low belt line. Reliability on the 4.0-liter flat 6 has been excellent. These engines are based on decades of Porsche development and don't suffer from the turbocharger or direct injection issues that plague modern forced induction motors. Maintenance costs are reasonable for a Porsche. Oil changes every 10,000 miles, brake fluid every 2 years, transmission service every 60,000 miles. No turbos to replace, no complex hybrid systems to maintain. The investment potential is enormous. Porsche GT3 Touring models from just a few years ago now sell for double their original MSRP because collectors recognize them as the last of their kind. The 718 GTS 4.0 sits in a similar position. Once production ends and electric replacements arrive, these cars will be recognized as the final chapter in Porsche's naturally aspirated mid-engine history. Values will rise accordingly. For enthusiasts who appreciate driving purity and want to own a piece of automotive history before it disappears forever, the 718 GTS 4.0 represents an opportunity that won't come again. The absolute best Porsche to buy right now is the 911 GT3 or GT3 Touring from the 1992 generation. These cars represent automotive perfection, combining track capability, daily usability, and investment potential in a way nothing else can match. The GT3 uses a 4.0-liter naturally aspirated flat 6 derived from Porsche's racing engines. It produces 502 horsepower and revs to 9,000 RPM. That red line is extraordinary for a modern production car. Most manufacturers limit engines to 7,000 or 7,500 RPM. Porsche engineering allows the GT3 motor to spin nearly 30% higher while maintaining bulletproof reliability. The sound is otherworldly, a mechanical scream that builds in intensity as the tachometer sweeps past 7,000, 8,000, and finally peaks at 9,000 RPM. The PDK transmission shifts in 100 milliseconds, faster than you can blink. The manual transmission remains available in the GT3 Touring, though most buyers choose PDK for the performance advantage and convenience in traffic. The chassis is race car derived but street legal. Porsche fits the GT3 with double wishbone front suspension, rear wheel steering, and adjustable aerodynamics, including a massive rear wing on the standard GT3 or a subtle ducktail on the Touring variant. Track performance is staggering. The GT3 laps the Nürburgring in under 7 minutes, matching dedicated race cars from just a decade ago. Yet, you can drive it to the track, complete 20 hot laps, then drive home in complete comfort. Daily usability is shockingly good. The suspension has comfort and normal modes that genuinely work for commuting. The ride quality is firm but not harsh. The cabin noise is manageable with the exhaust in quiet mode. The front trunk still provides usable cargo space. The rear seats are small but adequate for bags or equipment. You could use a GT3 as your primary car without feeling compromised, assuming you don't need to carry passengers regularly. Build quality is obsessive. Every component is engineered to withstand track use repeatedly. The brakes are carbon ceramic units that can handle 20 laps of hard braking without fade. The cooling system maintains perfect temperatures even at maximum attack for extended sessions. The interior features lightweight seats with perfect bolstering, a small diameter steering wheel with excellent grip, and controls positioned exactly where you need them. Reliability is race-proven. These engines run in endurance racing for 24 hours straight at maximum RPM without failing. Your street car undergoes similar engineering validation. Cost of ownership is high but predictable. Insurance is expensive, particularly if you're financing. Maintenance follows strict intervals with no flexibility. But there are no surprise failures or catastrophic breakdowns if you follow the service schedule. The investment potential is the real story here. Every single 911 GT3 generation has appreciated in value. The 997 GT3 RS models from 2010 now sell for more than their original MSRP. The 991 GT3 Touring is worth double what buyers paid just 5 years ago. The 992 GT3 will follow the same trajectory. Porsche builds these cars in limited quantities, with waiting lists stretching years. Demand far exceeds supply. Once production ends, values climb immediately. Some 992 GT3 Touring models already trade above MSRP on the used market despite being just 2 years old. For collectors and enthusiasts who understand the automotive market and want to own one of the greatest driver's cars ever built while making a sound financial decision, the 911 GT3 represents the pinnacle of what Porsche offers. Porsche offers something for everyone, from practical electric SUVs to track-focused, naturally aspirated sports cars. The key is understanding which models deliver real value versus which ones trap you in depreciation spirals. Buy smart, and your Porsche will reward you with incredible driving experiences and strong resale value for years to come.